Hey everyone. Um, Today we are adding or working on adding a couple steps, um, another step to the centerpiece. So with the um, where we are currently with the table. Excuse the fly. You can see we have this is the table. So, um, the top coats have been added, um, and so the original piece that was supposed to be in here was this, and um, this is what it looks like in it. I am not a fan. I just don't like the look of it. And so I have since made the decision to take this centerpiece, and what I'm gonna do is I've gotten 2 coats of primer on it. I'm gonna do one more coat of primer, and then we'll do probably 3 coats of paint because it's going white, and I want to make sure that it is blends in really well. And I also, before I ever even did that, um, I sanded it down. I used a 120 grit, 180 grit, and 240 grit, trying to get it as smooth as possible because the original plywood that it started as was not finished. And you can see, if you look at the back, this is, and it's smooth to the touch. So this piece, what I will do once it is fully primed and painted, and I'm even going to do a couple top coats on it just to have it match the rest of the table and stand up as good. I will use a nail gun and probably also wood glue just to secure it and provide double security. And then I will put this along the bottom, and this will create a lip that'll be like this. And it'll sit down a little bit because you've got this space here. And then it will be the perfect spot, I think, for adding just a little bit of decoration. It can be used for candles, for greenery, a great way to add to the um, holiday decorations, and just and keep this usable, because this table is an interesting design in that it does not, like, if you don't have anything here, um, this is obviously not a lot of usable space. Please excuse my camera skills. Um, so hopefully that will add some extra space and then give you some more freedom to decorate. And this right here, I will be fixing that. I had to do some sanding and touch ups, and so this does need top coated. So that's why it's got that different sheen to this, which has been top coated. So, and then the other big thing that I'm doing simultaneously, and what we'll work on today is that these tables, um, if you happened upon them on my Instagram or my Facebook page, you will notice or remember that this was not the original color that I had refinished them in, because I actually refinished the side tables before I ever refinished the coffee table. They were easier, less, and those are my kitchen cabinets that I'm in the process of refinishing as well. I've got a lot of different projects going on, But I chose the tables to refinish first, because in a lot of ways I was also not sure what I was going to do about the whole glass thing. And the so I ended up the original with the side tables, they were white on the bottom, and then Stony Path, which is a very just trying to see where I even had it. Oh, yes. It's hard to see. So I used, because it was tile, I had used the Valspar stucco and mason and brick paint. And you can see this was the original color of the stone, um, of this tile right here. And then um, that when I discovered that the glass was tinted, I knew that the Stony Path for this, because that was the original plan, to refinish this tile with the Stony Path and have them match. These have been listed and had been listed, and I had decided if they hadn't sold by the time I went to refinish the coffee table. Originally, like, then I was gonna possibly take the tables off, relist it as a set when the table was finished. However, I realized that very quickly when I realized it was tinted, Stony Path would not work. So therefore, I had to come up with a different plan. The brown was actually chosen to try and match the tinted glass, and that did not work. Because just this white, I just don't like the look of the glass on top of the white, but I also didn't want to leave this brown. I thought that the wood needed to be white, and only the tile brown. And so yesterday when I went, because I thought originally that I just was going to top coat this was going to be ready to go. And then I was going to decide based on how it looked if I was going to redo the tables. I quickly decided that I couldn't leave the side tables with the Stony Path, and it matched very well with the coffee table. So deleted the side tables and have started refinishing those. Had a strip. So the steps I had to take for those was I sanded down because those had also been top coated. Sanded it and then reprimed the the two tops, and the primer that I used was the Extreme Bond primer. This is actually my um, first time using Sherwin-Williams paint in general. So the primer I chose because I wanted to um, go underneath. I needed to make sure that the primer I chose was going to um, adhere very well, because the tile does not is a very has a lot of texture to it. And so there would be no way, like, I had to make sure that whatever primer I chose was going to help the paint adhere really well. And so researching told me that the Extreme Bond Primer by Sherwin-Williams would be the choice to go with. So I started with that. That has been done. So I did 2 coats of primer on the side tables, and I only chose 2 coats of primer because that had gotten good coverage, and because I was going to a darker um, a darker color on top, I didn't have to worry as much about the color of the wood or the color underneath. Which with this centerpiece, I'm doing a third coat of primer largely because I'm going from unfinished wood to um, a white. So hope I want to make sure it's really sealed in and also make sure like to hopefully lessen the amount of paint that I need. Um, and it's just such a light color. I just want to make sure that none of the wood is going to see through. So like, as you can see, even with two coats of primer, you can still see the wood grain. Um, so I might have to edit my plan even as I'm finishing this. Because depending on how it looks underneath that, we'll see. Um, but so we've currently gotten two coats of the brown hickory smoked Sherwin-Williams paint on these side tables. Just needs one more coat of paint, and then I'll do two top coats on this. Do any touch ups that are needed. The bottom had already been finished and top coated, and the white um, that is on all these tables is actually a the white paint is not Sherwin-Williams. It's the only paint that is on paint primer, and the top coat is a polyurethane. Um, is the Minwax polycrylic crystal clear top coat. Um, if I can, I want to avoid anything oil based. I just don't like the mess that it makes. And luckily, there are a lot of good water based products out there. So that is the top coat that I have used on all of them. And the white paint that is underneath is Krylon white chalk paint that I had originally gotten for another piece. I like chalk paint for its more rustic and farmhouse feel to it. So that's why I chose because farmhouse, I personally like farmhouse a lot, and it's a very popular style where I live. So that's where we are. Um, all right. So what I'm going to do is start with painting the side tables. And so I have all saved all of my um, paint in plastic put them in plastic bags so that it does not um, dry out. I did the second coat of these last night, and so that way overnight this will this that way so it got to dry overnight, and then now I'm doing the next coat, and I will um, allow this to dry. Um, I believe, if I remember correctly, the um, can said 4 to 5 hours between recoats. So um, I will let this dry. I'm gonna put, even though that is the should be the final coat of brown paint that I need to put onto the side tables, I am going to save the paint in bags so that way if there are any retouch ups that I need to do, I'll already have the brush and roller ready to go. And I'm also going to go ahead and pull up the tape because it's actually easier to pull the tape as before the paint fully dries. So this will just make it easier um, to remove it. And I can already tell, gonna have to do, I don't know if I'm gonna have to do brown paint touch-ups. That will be determined when I when the brown fully dries, but I definitely am going to have to do some touch up to the um white paint that is on the trim. Um so but honestly, I don't know that there's ever a time that you don't have to do some type of touch up when you're painting in sections. Even I would say if you're only doing one color, chances are after your final coat, you will find once it dries, there will be at least a couple spots that you'll have to do a touch up or two. Um, that is also why I like to not paint in plastic bags until I finish. Unless it's going to be a long time before I get a chance to do the next step, then um, it would be better to clean my brushes. I will admit I am not great about cleaning brushes. I don't enjoy it. And so, but especially if I have a nice brush, I want to um, try and help it last for as many projects as I can. And so um, I try and be better about washing my nice brushes so that Um, I can save those, but yes, I will admit I am not great about it. Um, Largely because, well, I guess a couple reasons because I don't necessarily, it's not my favorite thing to do, and then also I have a 3-year-old. So oftentimes I will think that I am going to be able to complete a step or do a step at a certain time, and then he quickly makes me realize that that is not necessarily going to be the case. So, um, when that happens, and I do tend to, um, unless we have a, because I am also a high school English teacher, so during the school year, it is very hard to um, flip and work on projects during the week. So I actually, um, most of my time that I get to flip is on weekends. And I will say that the nice thing about furniture compared to um, bigger projects, not that furniture is not a big project, but as I showed you, I am also flipping. Um, I'm also refinishing my cabinets, and so I, um, which has been a big undertaking, and has taken a while, and I'm still not finished. But the nice thing about furniture, um, compared to those, a lot of the times the steps themselves don't take all that long, and there are breaks between the steps for the most part. Sometimes that can be frustrating, but it actually, for having a toddler, I think 3 is a toddler still, but for having a young child, um, smaller, like, I have a better chance of finding 15 or 20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes to 45 throughout a day to complete a step than I do um, longer steps. And these are downstairs. He does not typically come downstairs. So there's less chance of him putting his hands on it. Like when I'm uh, painting walls and different things upstairs in our main house. So, um, yeah. Um, so I also save my primer brushes, and I would not probably the one that I just used honestly is probably close to getting thrown away. It's been used for several projects at this point. Um, but I also keep my primer brushes because I tend to have, as you can see, I have a lot of different projects going on simultaneously. So, um, and I will say, if you, I don't know if you're able to see, but these little triangles are amazing. I used two. I probably could get away with one under each leg of the coffee table, but I have two under each just to be sure. But those are actually, they help a lot with keeping things off the ground. And I would, if I wasn't just doing the top of the side tables, I would um, have those up on a table as well with the triangles. So um, we have now put the third coat of primer on the centerpiece that's going to get put underneath, and then also the third coat of paint on the side tables, which I can already tell the side tables are looking a lot better. I liked them before, but I really like that contrasting brown and white, and it's a very popular style. So next we will, once this dries, we will do first coat of paint, chalk paint, Krylon white mineral chalk, or Krylon white chalk paint on the centerpiece, and then once the brown dries on the side tables, that will be ready for top coating. And when I do the top coat on the side tables, I will also fix the side top coat in those couple of places that need it on the coffee table. So, which um looks really good. Um, but you would not want as much of a glossy finish on that. I am also using a foam brush um to try and limit um the amount of brush strokes. But even though I am using the foam brush, and um which should help with the brush strokes, I am still always going in the same direction. That way, if there are any brush strokes, they all go in the same direction. Um, Now with the top coat brushes, I actually typically do not save them for my furniture pieces. Um I will throw them away in between coats and just kind of use them once. Technically, you can wash them and then reuse them, and I do reuse them more. Excuse me. For um personal, like, our home projects, but um I just am very diligent. Um I don't know if you would call it perfectionism or not, but I just want the pieces that I sell and refinish for other people. I just want to take every precaution that I can to give it the best finish that I can. So that is why I personally don't reuse them, and I just get them. Um, they're just the plain foam brushes. I order them typically in bulk off Amazon. Um, and then I am now adding the second coat of white Krylon chalk paint to the centerpiece. I call it centerpiece like it's, I feel like when I say that, it's like centerpiece, but it's not actually. I mean, it is in the center of the table, and hopefully, once it goes on there, it will be the perfect place to put centerpiece like things for the table, but it's not exactly a centerpiece in and of itself, if that makes sense. Um, and just like with the foam brush, this is not a foam brush I'm using. This is a zebra brush. I am a big fan of zebra brushes. These are the brushes that I would say are my favorite, and I try and very much um, clean them enough that they last a long time. I am putting my brush back into the Ziploc bag to save it for the next coat. So the next coat will be the third coat. Um, and then after the third coat of chalk paint, we'll do 2 coats of top coat, and then this piece will be ready to install in the center. I will say with the zebra brush, I am still going in one direction. Chalk paint does very much, in general, hide the it's designed to hide brush strokes more than probably some other paints, because it's just designed to look more rusticy. But I try and always go in the same direction as much as I can. So stick around and we will do the next steps tomorrow. Hey everyone, tonight we are adding the top coat. You'll notice that the tables have been moved. So you can see the tables have been moved over here. Tables got final top coats, 2 top coats, and have been placed over here. So we have put 3 paint coats on the centerpiece right here that will be going in the center of the table. So tonight we are doing the top first top coat on the centerpiece, with the intention of um, doing the second coat tomorrow, and then I will let it sit. I'm gonna let it sit for about 24 hours. So the plan is to do first top coat tonight, and then the second top coat tomorrow, and then the after let it sit for 24 hours. About it may not be exactly 24 hours, but it'll definitely be almost 24 hours in between top coat and before it's installed, just to try, and I just want to give the top coat time to really set, and because if you read on the back of the um, top coat can, you have to allow 3 hours before light use and 24 hours before regular use. So I want to just give it some time before I do that, something else that I have not mentioned or shown, um, in my um, earlier steps is the idea of sanding between coats to help get a better finish. So, um, this is 220 grit sandpaper that's actually, the sandpaper goes on my hand sander, and then I have a block, um, and so I have just wrapped it around, because I'm not, the goal with this is really not to, do anything, um, but, kind of knock off the roughness. I'm not trying to take any paint off. I'm not trying to fix any chips or smooth any, like, I'm smoothing out, but I'm not trying to smooth out to the point that I really need a um lot of sanding. Actually the goal is not to remove any paint. So that's why I use that higher grit number. Um and you can even go higher than 220. That is just the highest that I currently have. Um, and so, and when you do that, it just helps create a smoother finish. And with the chalk paint, because the chalk paint is intended to have a more rustic look, um, I still would recommend doing it. I don't know, um, that, um, it is as important with chalk paint, just because of the nature of how chalk paint is. Um, and someone might have a different opinion and think it is absolutely necessary and a must do. And um, I will admit, like, there are definitely furniture finishers out there that have more expertise than I do. Um, for sure. I just, from my experience, I can tell a much bigger difference if I've sanded between coats with other paints compared to if I have sanded between coats with chalk paint. Either way, the idea behind sanding between coats, um, is just that it does help create more a smoother finish, a better finish. And that's why I would say, like, I would recommend doing it between um every coat, primer and paint. Um I will admit I don't do it typically between top coats. Maybe I should. And if one of you is like, yes, absolutely, you definitely should, feel free to comment that. I just am afraid of taking off some of the top coat when I sand between. But um, maybe that is one of the things that is, like with the paint, um, it will, um, it won't take off the top coat. It will just smooth it out. But and something else that I will include is, oh, so actually the back of this does say to lightly sand after at least 2 hours and then apply 2 to 3 coats. So it does actually recommend um between coats to sand it. So I will definitely add that to my plan after this coat, to sand it, and then with that 220 grit, and then do another top coat, um, and then we will be ready to install it, which will be very exciting because once it is installed, then the table will officially be finished. It'll be ready for staging and posting and all of that. So, hey everyone. So, we are to the step where we are going to be installing the centerpiece onto the bottom of the table. So, we're gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna try. I think the easiest thing to do is going to be to flip the table over, and then um, to flip the table over and install it that way, just because um, then it's a flat surface, because otherwise I'm going to have to be leaning underneath this to get it installed, and I think that's going to be more challenging, but we are going to see how this goes. So I did, I don't have the filmed steps, but you can see, so I've put 2 top coats on this. So this is the piece that is going in the center. It is replacing this was the glass that was inside of it, and you can see it is tinted. Honestly, at the original table, you couldn't tell it was tinted until you took it off. I don't know, I guess just the way it was designed, it was hard to tell that this was tinted. Like when you looked through it, you couldn't even tell it was tinted. It was almost like an optical illusion of sorts, I feel like. But when I saw that it was tinted, I quickly had to change my plan. And I think I said in earlier, but if you do anything, if you are doing any type of refinishing furniture or even like repainting cabinets or anything like that, doors, like these are awesome and they're not all that expensive. I think I got these off Amazon for like $7. So, and I got a ton of them, and it even included some paintbrushes with it. So I would definitely, and you can see it is even holding up this table, and this table is um, it's not a light, but so light table. And so for the extra support for the table, what I did was I attached two of them together, because they clip together if you want them to. And yeah, so probably squares have definitely been one of the best investments that I have made since I started flipping furniture, because I didn't have them for the first piece that I did, and it made it challenging. So trying to think, because I don't want to mess up the finish either. But this has been sitting because I've been doing that middle step, so hopefully flipping this will not cause a big issue. And so I just wonder if I should have left the triangles, but I think it'll be okay. Actually, I might put the triangles back to try and just lift off the lift up the table, and so it's not directly on the table itself. So hopefully, yeah, let's do that. So how I'm going to attach this is, so I think what we're actually going to do is, instead of I'm gonna so the issue I'm running into with the nail gun is I thought it was an 18 gauge because I borrowed the nail gun from my father-in-law, and I thought it was an 18 gauge, and so I had gotten 18 gauge nails, but it is actually 16 gauge. And so the nails that I have will not fit. And then the because of the gauge. And then the other side to that is that the ones that he has in the bag with him are 2.5-inch nails, and so they are going to be way too long, and they're going to go through the other side of the table. So that's not going to work. So I think what we're going to do is we are going, and I was planning to do this anyway, I'm going to use wood glue as extra I'm going to put a line of glue around it. And then I have a staple gun, but I think the staple gun's probably not going to work because I just think the plywood's going to be too strong. So, but I do have some like screws that I can put in to it to help stabilize it because I just want to make sure it's stable. I'm not, because I won't know how much weight the person that I sell it to is going to put on it. So I just want to make sure it can hold any of the weight that they choose to put on it. In my mind, it's going to be used more for decoration. So it's not going to be have a lot of weight. So honestly, like in some ways, wood glue might be enough, but I don't want to say that with 100% certainty. So I just have to find I have varying levels of wood screws from different projects. I just and I'm like almost 100% sure I have like a 3 inch, like 1 1/4 inch wood screws that I have got for one project or the other. I just have to find them. So I have 3/4 inch screws, which I think are going to be too small. And then, let's see, these are a mix of screws. Those aren't going to help. While I find the screws, I'm going to start by doing the wood glue. And I'm doing it on, so the way the table is designed, it actually has like a trim piece, almost is, which is like how they had installed the glass piece set in. And I might have to do, so the thing that I'm not sure if I'm gonna, like another thing I'm not sure if I'm gonna end up having to do is I might, and if that's the downside to using, that I was not necessarily excited about using wood glue, is because I don't want the wood glue to seep through to the other side, but if it does, I'll just have to sand that down and then refinish that little section. So what we're going to try is these. So these are, they should fit, they should provide enough. They should be able to go both through the plywood, and then also in just enough into the table to secure it a little bit more. So these were actually originally gotten because the hardware that came with my cabinets that I'm refinishing, because I'm switching out the hardware with my cabinets, and the hardware that came with that actually does not work with the screws that they provided with the hardware were not long enough to handle the weight of the doors, because we have very, like, it's good that they're very well built, but it is the doors that were they were built like a long time ago. So in turn, that means that they just they just are very heavy. So I had gotten those screws to help secure those. So, and I am going, we're going to see how this goes. This is my drill driver. I have a multi-purpose one. I honestly don't know the like names, the true names for them, but that one is actually upstairs, so we're gonna see how this goes. And like the plywood's already stuck because that is really good wood glue, and so I probably won't do very many screws. um I want to try and make sure everything is secure. So this is something with furniture flipping that I feel like I've had to learn is you will have a plan and you think that that's what you're going to do, and then the plan is going to flip and change based on what you find, based on what your um, and I don't know if you can see, this was actually the original color that was on the side tables for um, the tiles. And this is the because I finished the side tables first. That's the color is Stony Path. Um, this is actually paint for my walls. We are also repainting our walls upstairs. So, and that color is perfect backdrop, which is a very pretty color if you happen to be redoing or looking for a nice neutral color that's gonna add some warmth to your house and your walls without over powering it. So I actually, because I just want to make sure that this looks okay and I did it right, I'm actually going to change what I do, and I think I'm going to flip it over and actually move it because I also kind of want space for my table. So I'm going to move it to where my um, finished furniture is. And as you can see, so this is my staging wall right here. Like this is the staging wall. I, even though I thought through the measurements and tried to check the measurements, I ended up like the way that the wood grain looked on the piece of paneling. It looked better going this way, so I need another piece of paneling and I haven't gotten it yet. And but it's high enough that for all the furniture pieces I have to this point, you haven't been able, like when I take the pictures, you can't notice it, but